It's time for Reason.
Do you think that there would be a federal government in this administration right now if we have more states, whether it's Kansas or anywhere in the country, say, you know what, I believe that I'm going to go ahead and expand my Medicaid program and I'm going to look for federal aid in order to make that happen? What do you think they're going to say? As we're trying to limit some of these social programs with a Republican majority in both chambers and a Republican presidency, what do you think is going to happen?
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. Right here on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting on TV, KGPT TV, channel 2610. By the way, we do have the replay of it each and every evening from 6 to 9 o'clock at night as well. You can wake up with us. You can go to bed with us. It does not matter. We're here for you all day long. We're also on Facebook Live right now, along with, of course, the TuneIn app, the online streaming, where no matter where you may be listening, however you may be listening, welcome aboard. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join in, it's going to be a heck of a day today. We're going to have a lot of fun, a lot of things to talk about. There's a lot of news happening really fast, really quickly, and on numerous different topics, which is really wild as well. They think that if they bog us down and they overwhelm us with news, then all of a sudden we're just going to back off and just tune it out, or we're going to engage even more. We have the choice. By the power invested in us in media and talk radio, we can cover all of it to the extent that we need to and have fun doing it as well. Welcome in, 316-721-8255. Happy Wednesday morning. It is a hashtag Freedom-Loving Wednesday, which is the way we like to have fun today on the middle of the week. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. It is a holiday weekend, by the way, this weekend as well, which means it's even better. Friday, we're going to be doing our memorial tribute, as we always like to do the day before the holiday, and get to celebrate as of Monday for the actual holiday. We will be doing a best of for the program, so that way when you're out and about and you're camping and you're hiking and you're doing your thing, then you can still listen to some of the great stuff that we like to talk about on the program. I want to start off with this morning. This hat tip to the Wall Street Journal, and I don't know how the progressives are going to respond to this. I'm not quite sure how the Democrats and the liberals are going to actually respond, because they want to play the victimhood. They like victims, so they like to treat victims as victims and try and take care of them. But at the same time, when the victims come out and don't have the same type of agenda that they do, then they're not quite sure how to respond, because they want to be lovey-dovey and take care of them. But at the same time, they really don't want to, because they don't fit the right agenda. I mean, if you look at a lot of the African-American community and the black community, then if they are conservative, then they are, of course, the Uncle Toms, and they're terrible, horrible human beings, because they don't trust the government. They don't believe in the government. They don't use government programs. And they're the ones that are actually giving the rest of their people, apparently, a bad reputation, which isn't true. You know, you see actual success stories of people working up from poverty, working up to a very successful life, and then you see the progressives try and trash them, because how dare that you actually do that? And you see these stories all the time. When it comes to the shooting last week that happened down in Texas at the school, and the 8 to 10 kids that ended up dying, the teachers that died, and now everybody's all up in arms. The father of the accused Texas shooter, the father of the shooter that had the guns, has been kind of quiet for the most part, but now he's come out and said that the father of the shooter believes that bullying was behind the rampage. That the reason the student went out on the shooting spree was because of bullying. Now, the progressives will not look at that in any way, shape, or form, and they'll say, "Yeah, bullying's bad, and we don't want to see bullying." But at the same time, that's not why he would actually go out on the shooting spree, because it's usually about guns. You've been hearing the stories about how they're not quite sure how to respond to the shooting, because it was not used with an AR-15 or a really large gun, but it was he used a handgun and a shotgun. Two things that they say, according to the progressives, they say that is okay for us to actually have, because we just don't need assault rifles. We don't need large capacity weapons. We don't need high velocity weapons. We don't need large magazines on a high velocity weapon. We don't need those things. That's what they always say. Now that we had it with a shotgun and with a gun, with a handgun, which we told you I mean, we've said this for I don't know how long. I've said it. Mark Walters has said it. All the conservatives have said it. The NRA said it, that you could do just as much damage with a shotgun than you can with an assault rifle, quote unquote, meaning an AK-47 or an AR-15 or some of these other semi-automatic rifles. That you can do just as much damage with a shotgun. And guess what? It just happened. So now the progressives, they say, well, do we start going after the shotgun? Because a shotgun's a really terrible thing now, too. Or do we start backing off the gun debate because, well, we're in the losing box here. We're in the losing corner. We're not going to be able to win because we're never going to be able to take shotguns away. Could you imagine them trying to come after 12-gauge shotguns? It's not going to happen. So now we need to actually start looking at the deeper issues. The deeper issue, unveiling the layer of the onion. And according to the father of the shooter, hey, this individual was bullied all the time. The father of the 17-year-old charged with killing 10 people at the high school in Santa Fe, Texas, said Monday that his son was a good boy and had been mistreated at school, which opens up the entire can of worms that progressives don't like to go down. Because the administration, public education, the administrators that are supposed to be keeping, rule of law to some degree in the schools, keeping civility within the hallways of the school and the classrooms of the school. The teachers that are supposed to be controlling the students don't have that ability. You see the videos all the time of the students that are pushing teachers around, shoving them, hitting them, knocking them to the ground, yelling and screaming at the teachers because they feel entitled, and we're not allowed to punish them. They're not allowed to get spankings anymore. They're not allowed to go to timeout. They're not allowed to be stripped away of their education. They're not allowed to say, you know what, unless you're actually going to behave, you're not welcome here. We're not allowed to do that anymore. So they bully because they take advantage of it. And then they take advantage of other students as well. And they bully them. And they take their lunch money. And they beat them up. And they do whatever they feel like doing. And that's the problem that we have. We have a mental problem. We have a parental child problem. We have a role model problem. We have a respect problem. We have a mental problem that's led to individuals be bullied. If you remember the shooting down in Florida, one of the activists that's actually running around right now saying we need to take away guns admitted that she had bullied this student that ended up doing the shooting. She admitted it, that she bullied him and felt really bad. But it's not about the bullying. It's about the guns, right? This is why we're never going to change the discussion. This is why we're never going to change the parameter. This is why we're never going to advance in trying to end gun violence when it comes to schools, which we'll never be able to end it no matter what, because there's always going to be an individual that feels like they can do that. But we could limit it, especially by actually having students feel like they need to go out and act this way. Students. Because they broke up with a girlfriend. Because they were bullied. Because they didn't have any friends. Because they were already mentally unstable and people didn't catch it or report it. These are the things we need to focus on. And until we do, we're never going to fix the problem. But now, how do the progressives respond? And I want to hear you. I want to hear how the progressives actually respond to the father of the shooter. Which, of course, they're going to come down on him. I mean, he can't be listened to, right? Because he had guns. So, therefore, he's the problem. Not the student that was bullied. Not the student that had mental problems. But probably the dad that owned firearms is the problem. Which means that no matter what he says, it's probably going to go in one ear and out the other when it comes to the progressives, because they don't care. They really don't care. They are so adamant about one propaganda, one piece of agenda, one thing that they're going to be moving forward with. They don't care what the father has to say because he owned guns. Therefore, it's his fault that all those students died. And they're probably going to come after the father. There are probably going to be protests on his yard. There's probably going to be signs saying that he's liable, that all the blood's on his hands because he owned a firearm. Doesn't matter whether it was, maybe he never even had a quote-unquote assault rifle or a semi-automatic rifle. Maybe all he had was just a shotgun and a handgun for home defense that the student stole. Maybe it was, but it doesn't matter to them. He's now the target. Who cares if he says, wait a second, he was actually a really good kid. He was rejected a bunch of times, and he was a little mentally sad, and he hit a depression mode, and we didn't handle it appropriately, and, oh, by the way, he was bullied all the time, which drove him to his madness. Because that would be a logical thing in commonsensical world and reasonable world. That's apparently not the commonsensical approach when it comes to a liberal progressive that says guns are the only thing, and if we could only get rid of them, then we would have a safer, happier, wholesome world. Not the fact that he also had, by the way, explosives as well. Not, by the way, that he was bullied and he wanted retaliation. That he saved some, openly saved some, according to the reports, and that he went out of his way to go find others. Crazy how that works, right? So now the argument is, do they go after the handgun and the shotgun? Do they admit that they want to take every single firearm, or do they back off and say, you know what? This was done with just as much damage. The light bulb has come on. We now recognize that not just evil, terrible, quote-unquote, assault rifles or semi-automatic or high-velocity rifles are the only thing that can cause damage. And, yeah, let's look a little bit deeper here because, number one, realistically, we will never take handguns away. Realistically, we will never take shotguns away. And those are things that we do believe people should have because they can hunt with those things. And according to me, as a crazy liberal progressive that doesn't understand firearms, high-velocity rifles are not used in hunting, so therefore we need to change the discussion. Do you think that's going to happen? I won't hold my breath on that one. Phones are lighting up. Let's go to the phones. What do you say? 316-721-8255, line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
This is Pete.
Pete, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Well, a couple of points. First off, you mentioned that gal from Parkland is railing against guns.
Yes.
That's Emma Gonzalez, and she should be the poster child for toxic masculinity. Okay, let's just start with that.
That is true.
2, guns were all over the place in the 1950s and 60s, and yet you didn't have school shootings. And bullying has always gone on. So what has changed? And the change is progressivism and the values that it has brought into our culture in that we do not respect human life.
You're right. You're right.
Human life means nothing. And in fact, I was just reading a story yesterday where some guy slipped his pregnant girlfriend like a morning after pill, inducing a miscarriage, and he was charged with a fetal manslaughter, I think is what it was called. And I'm like, I read this article, and I'm like, you're charging him with fetal manslaughter, yet a woman goes and does the same thing in a clinic or takes a morning after pill, and that's called a choice.
Sure.
And
no, you're absolutely right.
That just puts the finger on, it's not the gun. The gun is just the boogeyman.
Sure. Well, you and I understand this.
What's wrong.
You're right. You and I understand this, and we've talked about it ad nausea when it comes to any type of these shootings, when it comes to the gun debate nationally, locally, it doesn't matter. We understand that. We understand that it is a lack of value of life. We understand it is a mental health issue that we're refusing to acknowledge. We understand the gun has nothing to do with this. What point will the progressives and the liberals understand this? Will this be the breaking point and say, look, you said that you didn't want high-velocity, semi-automatic, quote-unquote, assault rifles. This wasn't used in this shooting. It was a shotgun that was used in this one, and they still committed just as much damage and killed just as many people as some of the other mass shootings in schools. Will you finally wake up? Will this be the breaking point for them?
Well, that's just it. It won't be because they are so locked into a ideology that they are beyond logic.
That's true. That's true. Pete, I love it. I appreciate it, my friend. You're right. They are locked into a logic that no matter what happens, they will always find a way to twist it, manipulate it, and still promote the gun control activism, because to them it will always be the gun. If it's not the assault rifle and it's not the semi-automatic rifle, then it's the shotgun. If it's not the shotgun, then it's the handgun, and we just need to get rid of all of them. We need to put in more laws, right? Well, guess what? Sawed-off shotguns are already heavily regulated, if not illegal, in certain areas. Handguns, especially in Texas, he still, as a 17-year-old boy, was not allowed to have that. He's not allowed to purchase them. He's not allowed to use them. He's not allowed to do that because he's still 17 years old. So the laws that are already in place on basic firearms for handguns and shotguns are already there, and they still violated it. Laws don't work to stop these things. The only thing that will stop it, I don't know how many times we have to say it, the only thing that will stop it will be someone else with a firearm to eliminate that threat when they try and pose that threat. But they don't care. And the fact, again, that it was done with a more normal firearm, with a shotgun and a handgun, will this wake the progressives up and say, oh yeah, okay, you're right, Basic guns as well can do just as much damage. It's ridiculous to start going off on this gun control thing because that's a shotgun that where there's millions of them in the U.S. They're never going to go away. We better start doing some different preventative measures. 316-721-8255. Let's take another phone call, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
This is Jim.
Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm just amazed. I'm old, and I remember things. I was here in Wichita after moving in from the Goddard area back in about 1980 when they had the first shooting in a school out at Goddard. I knew the kid that did the shooting. He and my oldest boy were friends, and this boy was beaten up almost every day, and the school would punish him if he fought back to keep his lunch money. But I was looking something up this morning on the internet just to refresh my memory. Back in 2004, over in Russia, a group of terrorists, and we remember we're lucky over here. All of our school shootings have been a loner, one or two loners. But in Russia, they had a gang of terrorists went in, and they held a school for 3 days, and 330 people died.
Mm-hmm.
And the Russian government knew about the potential attack beforehand and didn't stop it. That sounds like Parkland, Florida, doesn't it? The government knows. They have a hint in advance. Sometimes there are some political things that makes a person think and wonder. It's not proof, but it raises the question, did the government want this to happen because they wanted to get the people all upset so they would accept or do something different?
Well, that's very true. And now I'm not, and I appreciate the call, Jim. I got to take a break. I mean, I'm not going to go down the road of saying that the government's going to be aware of some of these things and just let them happen. What I will say, though, is that you're right. I mean, first off, we are dramatically less likely to see any type of attack in our schools like this compared to some of the other nations, which, by the way, have a lot more gun control than we do here in the United States. It's not an epidemic. We're not seeing it on a daily basis. So we still have less than triple digits of students that die every year when it comes to schools. Now, but I'm not going to go down the road and say the government's aware of it and just going to let it slide or let it happen, that sort of thing. I will say, though, that when these do happen, we respond horribly with them at the national level, at the local level, with the activist side. We respond terribly thinking that once we start saying that we need to do something, we just need to do something. We gotta stop this. We gotta end it. It's ridiculous. We have to do something. Okay, what is that something? The only thing that you can do is go one of two directions. Either arm more people to try and defend them or try and fight to take away all the guns and hope that that actually works. One of them's realistic. One of them's stupid. And we know which direction most of the progressives want to go. If you want to do something, those are the only two things you can do. They either arm more people and have more security or try and strip away all the guns for everybody in the area. That's the only two things you can. So if you want to do something, let us know exactly which direction you want to go and what you actually want to do, and then we can either laugh at you or pat you on the back. One or the other, because those are the only two options that we actually have. 25 minutes past the hour. Lots to get to today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Your thoughts and calls as well. It is a hashtag freedom-loving Wednesday, my friends. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay right here.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Welcome back in. 29 minutes past the hour. Bottom of the hour news coming up. We went a little long in that last segment. Appreciate all the phone calls, though. Lots more to get to today. When we come back, we'll shift gears a little bit. Starbucks, as you know, kind of opened up its loitering rules to where you can kind of hang out. Now they're changing that backtracking a little bit, trying to, quote-unquote, clarify. Look, business prerogative. It's all about businesses making their own decisions. Let's see what kind of response they get and what that does to affect their business. Lots more to get to. That and more. This is The Voice of Reason. Happy Wednesday.
About some things that don't seem right.
Doesn't tolerate name calling.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
But if you want to try, call the show at 316-721-8255 right now. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Yeah, welcome back into the Voice of Reason. Good Wednesday morning to you. Hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. That's the way we roll today. 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK. Starting off your morning the best way that you know how to. Better than a cup of coffee, a shot of espresso, even an energy drink. 36 minutes past the hour.
Shake that.
We're live on Facebook Live as well. Facebook.com/1480KQAM. You can also check us out on our brand new website. That is up and rolling, KQAMradio.com. KQAMradio.com. You got the TuneIn app. You can listen live on your desktop, on your mobile app. It does not matter. You can see all the different stuff that we have going on with the station, different promotions. You can see the station. You can see the show. Go to KQAMradio.com under the local shows tab. Find the Voice of Reason. Find the weekly guest lineup. You can find the different blogs, which I do need to update the blog. It's still on the legislative recap, and we need to change that a little bit. So we will do that here relatively soon. You can also find 2 weeks worth of the podcast on there as well. 316-721-8255. Let's shift gears just a little bit. I do want to touch on this. It's been in the talk. Everybody's been joking about it, but they're backtracking a little bit, and they're trying to clarify their loitering policy now as a business. And there's a few different businesses that I want to talk about here, because guess what? You as a local business owner, if you're starting off your day, if you're getting things ready for the day, you as a local business owner, you get to choose on what to do with your business. And it's really been, for whatever reason, it's been a weird debate lately about even local businesses that if you decide to turn people away for whatever reason. And if you remember, it started off with the LGBTQ couple, the gay couple that went in, tried to get a cake, and then the cake business owner decided not to make them the cake, and then it turned into a big lawsuit, and it really shut them down, and it destroyed them, and that's just the way it was. And then you see other examples of that as well. Then just about a month later, they see a religious group trying to protest abortions, trying to fight abortions, and they went into a coffee shop. The coffee shop was gay and did not like the religious folks being in there and kicked them out and said, yeah, you know what, I don't want to serve you. And you see that all over the place. You see people turning it away. You see the signs in many businesses that still say no shoes, no shirt, no service. It happens all the time. So you as a business owner, yes, you get to make the decisions you want to as a business. Now, I would strongly encourage you to try and open up your doors to as many people as possible, because you don't want to, cut off certain people that would kill your revenue. But at the same time, I guess that's your prerogative if you only want to limit it to a certain amount of people that you want to work with. That's your business owner prerogative. And we've had some healthy debates on that back and forth a little bit. But now Starbucks, as you know, and it's been the big talking point, has allowed customers to use restrooms, to loiter, to hang out, to sit at the tables and not actually have to buy anything. Now, I've never heard of a business actually allowing that before, but all the power to you. If you want to block up your entire store and not have anybody be able to sit down and actually purchase something because too many people are sitting there for free, I guess that's your prerogative. Because right now you're kind of a hypocritical company as well, just being a liberal progressive company and saying that you want to make it free and fair for everybody. You want to hand out free coffees. You want to do this. You want to do that. And you're trying to make a profit. Doesn't work that way, right? Especially with how expensive Starbucks actually is. I don't drink Starbucks very often. Very rarely, actually, because I'm not a big coffee person, for one. Number two, when you do try and get something, it's ridiculously expensive. But they came out and said everyone's welcome at your neighborhood Starbucks. This includes just hanging out or using the bathroom. The policy change comes 5 weeks after two black men who did not purchase anything were arrested in Philadelphia's Starbucks. Quote, I think it should have been that way, especially because the way racism is, according to different loiterers or customers of Starbucks. Which really makes me, I don't understand the whole racism part. I think it should have been that way a long time ago, especially because of the way racism is, Well, that's kind of a racist comment in itself, isn't it? By saying that only black people are poor and don't actually buy Starbucks, but just go and hang out and loiter. Isn't that a racist comment? I mean, we get called the racist for being conservative, and yet they turn around and say, oh, yeah, guess what? If you remember one of the comments from one of our Democratic congressional candidates here in the area, not going to say which one, had made the comment that, yes, we need more immigrants coming in because they're the ones that need to work our fields for us. And you hear progressives say that all the time. So you're saying that the individuals coming over from the border are just coming here to work jobs that we don't want to work because they can't aspire to anything else. They can't work construction and make $25 an hour, which I've seen before. They can't become business owners, which I've seen before. No, they're out working in the fields because that's what they do, because they're low skilled and because that we don't want to do them, so that's what they do. And then, of course, black individuals, they go to stores and they don't actually buy anything because they're poor, so they just go and loiter, and they're the ones just hanging around and just loiter and not actually purchase anything because they're poor, because that's what black people apparently do. This is racism. That's what racism is. It actually is. That is the definition of racism, is by categorizing and assuming that just because you're a skin color or you're a certain heritage that you are poor or you are in terrible parts of neighborhoods, or that you are low skilled, or that you don't have any value. And that is racism. Not sure if you're aware of that or not. And they call us the racists. On the other side, one other point of view is said that it would be a homeless camp. At least we wouldn't have to deal with them out in the streets, and now we have to deal with the homeless camp that's going to be happening in Starbucks. I really do wonder, and now they're trying to come back, and we'll talk about their backtracking a little bit, but I wonder how long this demand will actually last for just being able to loiter and hang out. Then it's going to be taken to the next step, because it always does, right? Especially with the racist mentality that liberal progressives have, saying that only black people apparently just go and loiter and don't have enough money to actually buy anything in a really elite, ritzy, progressive type of store where it's $5 for a cup of coffee and only rich white people can afford it. So then I wonder how long it's going to take for them to come back and say, you know what? We really need to start offering free coffees. And we need to offer free coffees because of the fact of not only should we allow people to just hang out who can't afford it, but just be around the environment and just kind of loiter and hang out, because we want to open it up to everybody, even those like minorities who can't apparently afford it. And we want to open it up that way. But now we need to take it to the next level, and we need to start offering free coffee for the ones that can't afford it. I'm reminded of, I went to college in Bowling Green. I told you about that. I've gone to college, and I was in the College Republicans, and we would always have, right in the middle of the lunch hall, the lunch building, there was a room for tables for different organizations to get students signed up and get active and get engaged on different things. And there was always a group there, other than the College Republicans, like we were trying to sign people up, which was very difficult, by the way. There was also another group that was there for the Communist Party on campus. And I always chuckled because, you know, they're communists and just whatever. They did their own thing. They were cute, and we tried to spat back and forth once in a while. But they'd always have a newspaper, and they had a student newspaper. And I don't remember what it was called, but they had a student newspaper for the communist mentality, the communist articles, the communist opinion. And I went over one day, and I asked them how much it was to purchase said newspaper, because I wanted to read it. I was curious, and I wanted to see what they had to say. And I'll never forget this. They told me that it's $1 to purchase the newspaper, but if you can't afford it, we're here to help you out as well, so you can take it for free. So it's kind of the honor system. If you know you have the funds, then you can afford it to be able to pay for it to help contribute. If you don't have the funds, then it's okay, we'll give it to you for free, because that's how lunatic, that's how ridiculous, that's the lunacy that comes out of that side of the aisle. So I'm almost wondering if they're going to try the same kind of mentality at Starbucks and say, if you can afford the $5 coffee, then you should, because you need to contribute so we can actually keep our job and get paid. If not, and you're just there to loiter and hang out and you can't afford it, then we'll just give you one for free, because we want to be able to take care of everybody. I wonder how long a business can actually stay in business with that type of business dealings, with that type of business philosophy. I wonder how long that they can actually stay in business that way. Probably not for very long, but it's comical. So let them. That's their own business decision. That's their prerogative. All the power to them. Now, they have backtracked a little bit. According to the Wall Street Journal, Starbucks says drug use and sleeping is unacceptable as it clarifies its guest policy. You can loiter. You can use the bathroom. You can hang out. But by the way, no sleeping in here, because we're not here to try and bring in the homeless people. And no doing drugs in here. You can't do that. Okay. Thanks for clarifying. 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones line number one. Good morning. What's your name?
My name is Eddie.
Good morning, Eddie. How are you, sir?
Well, I already see the arrows coming through the air, heading right towards me for what I'm going to say.
Okay.
Okay? This is what I believe deep in my heart, and this is what I expect. If I go into a place of business, say if I go into a restaurant and et cetera like that, I expect that restaurant manager, that restaurant owner to have an environment that, number one, is safe for me, number two, is clean in the whole 9 yards. And if there's somebody inside there that is not purchasing something to eat or something like that, they don't belong in there. Because I choose where I shop, I choose where I eat, where the environment is good. It's
Sure.
good for my wife. Do I want to? My wife is a very precious lady. I mean, and so are my children. I'm not going to take them into a place that I'm going to be embarrassed to take them into. And that's
Sure.
just exactly the way I look at it.
Well, and that's why.
And-
That's again why. That's, you know, if Starbucks wants to make that business decision, then all the prerogative to them. They have that ability to do so. But how many people, like you, are going to say, you know what? I don't want people just loitering, hanging out, not doing anything, not drinking or buying the product, and actually there for a purpose, but just hanging out. I don't necessarily feel comfortable in that situation, because if it's the new hangout spot for individuals that don't necessarily want to or can't afford anything and that are just there, I'm going to go somewhere else to where it's a little bit more customer friendly for the customers. And that's you're going to go and support someplace and support another business that actually has that type of environment for their store.
Yes, this is what I saw with my own eye. I went with my you talk about a wrong decision. And my daughter, as we're walking into this one eating place, she said, "Dad, you're not going to like it." And I walked in there, and this is what I saw with my own eyes. Okay, number one was there was this one guy was sleeping on the benches. They had a long bench. He was asleep. Okay, in the restroom, the restroom there, a guy was stripped down, had his shirt off, and he was taking a mini bath in there.
Well,
Seriously, this is not even a joke, you know. And I went out there and I saw, and I asked my daughter, I said, "Missy, have you already ordered?" And she said, "No." And I said,
good. We're gone.
"We're gone." And you know, it's not that and another time, and this is a library, a branch library, and there were 3 guys in there
Sure.
sleeping. And I went up to the librarian and I said, "They're sleeping over there."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Now, we're going to keep this place nice. We're going to keep this place respectable."
Sure.
And he said, "I don't know about that."
Sure.
And I said, "Hey, I'm going to take care of it." I went over there. I woke him up. I told him, I said, "Hey, you're going to kill me for this." I said, "This is a library. You're not going to sleep here." I said, "There's a Wendy's. There's a Wendy's next door. Go over there and sleep." I know, bad Fred. I mean, bad Eddie. But anyway,
they didn't like that very much. Well, no, you're right. I mean, and I'm with you. If I want to go to a store or go to a restaurant or go to a library, I want to go somewhere to where there's not just people loitering. There's places to loiter and to hang out, whether, you know, to go and just enjoy and go and, you know, I guess if you're homeless, to go and sleep, or to go and just hang out and just go visit and not actually. There are places like that. But when you go to certain stores, you want some place that's homey and friendly and that's kind and that's actually welcoming to the customers. And you don't have to walk around a bunch of people that are just there just to be a nuisance.
yes.
I'm
yes.
right there
You
with
want to
you.
hear something? Yes. Do you want to hear something funny?
Go for it.
The Obamas, they're going to have a program
On Netflix,
Netflix.
yes.
Yes. Do you know what it is? I know what it is. It's the deal of it is it's a man and a woman that got sent to federal prison for tax evasion, and they're out on work release, and the only job they could find would be a maid and a butler in a very rich real estate man that lives in New York City.
See, I like that. There you go. There you go. I'm looking forward to that one. It's going to be like a whole new it's a reality TV show like the Kardashians, but this is life after being incarcerated by making ridiculous financial decisions. I agree with that. Eddie, I love it. I appreciate it very much. I did see that. And I tell you what, speaking of those types of documentaries, there are a ton of them on Netflix. So it really wouldn't surprise me. There are a ton of them on Netflix. But well done. I like that, Eddie. Let's go back to the phones here. Take another one. Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
Scott.
Hey, good morning, Scott. How are you?
Well, out in the California area, I think it was in April 29th or something, there was a black family barbecuing in the park, and a white lady called in on them, saying, hey, you got some black people out here barbecuing. And then she prompted a protest that ended up having the whole community come out to support black people barbecuing in the park. Now, the thing about it is you have the white society wants it both ways. They don't want you to have anything, such as like when Tulsa, Oklahoma, back in 1921, got bombed from the air, the black community destroyed, and they had their own everything. You know, they had their own grocery stores and everything. Wasn't bothering anybody. But then they wanted to destroy that. But then at the same time, when you say, okay, well, then I have to go over here to where the white people are. Well, we don't want that. We don't want you in your Starbucks. We don't want you doing it. Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, hey, you can't have nothing of your own, but at the same time, we don't want you to have nothing that we got.
Well, hold
so
on.
You try to burn the candle on both ends, and you got to have to figure out what the hell's going on. Sorry.
Well, first off, I'd be very cautious in lumping up everybody as just white or black and just looking at it as a groupthink mentality, because not all white people believe that way. Not all black people believe that way.
The white people that control thing. Let's put it that way. The white people that control things.
Well, there's controlling people on both ends of the spectrum on all senses.
Something was allowing them to call the police on these guys at Starbucks, and also to call the police on the guy who was barbecuing in the park.
Well,
at the same time, there were some people who were controlling things that were bombing black communities, like in Philadelphia and also in Tulsa.
Well, here's what I have to say. First off, when it comes to the barbecuing in California, if she called because it was black individuals in the park barbecuing, then I would agree with you in the sense that that is completely wrong, and it's a stupid thing to call the police for, and she needs to be punished for that, because that is racism. Now,
that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Now, but here's the other thing, though, Scott. If you remember in California as well, was it because they were black, or was it because that they were actually barbecuing and she didn't like that? If you remember, there are the ordinances in California as well with barbecuing that if you smell the barbecue, then you can be called on by the police and you can have a fine and a citation, because people don't like smelling it, because they see it as a smell, as a pollutant, because they are so environmentally whacked out there that they don't like any types of smells of meat or any kind of grilling. So was it because they were specifically black, or was it because they were grilling and they didn't like the environmental pollution the quote-unquote environmental pollution because of the grilling?
Yeah, it was because they were black. Well, because like I said, when they protested it, it was black people who came out to protest, and they protested by barbecuing. So,
well, then I would agree. Sure, then I would agree with you on that front and say that would be racism, and I would completely disagree with that. So, but Scott, we got to be very careful when it comes to the categorization of saying that. I mean, that's the same mentality of saying, like in this story, that all black people are poor and can't afford a Starbucks, so therefore we need to when we talk about ending racism by allowing loitering. And that itself is a racist comment, to say that just black people can't afford a Starbucks, so therefore we should allow them to just loiter and hang out in the store because they can't afford it, and that's going to help end racism. That is a racist statement, because obviously there are many black people that can't afford a Starbucks, and they're just fine. And we need to not lump in category. This is what continues all along that division, is saying that, the white people and the black people, look, you and I are together. We're about the character. And if she's a jerk that wants to either, regardless, so it's whichever direction she was going for, she's a jerk and a stupid person for calling someone or calling the cops either because a black person was barbecuing in the park, or because that they were barbecuing in the park and she didn't like the environmental pollution coming out of the airwaves because that they were grilling meat. Either way, she's in the wrong on that one, and I would support you with your movement on that, because that's a ridiculous observation of someone trying to call for either one of those situations. But we can't just say that the white people that didn't like them having their things there. So we got to be very careful with that, because again, I'm not for the type of groupthink mentality of all white people or all black people believe in one way, shape, or form. It's not. It's about the individual, and that's what we have to get to in order to end this type of bigotry and separation. Got to take a break. Wrapping up hour number 1. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Wrapping up hour number one. It goes by way too fast. We've had way too much fun on the show already this morning. Lots more to get to. When we come back, we got Jim Howell, Sedgwick County Commissioner, at the bottom of the hour, plus hour number three. We're going to have Michael Stumo. He's with the Coalition for a Prosperous America, talking about Trump trade deals, along with your phone calls. We got a lot of fun today. A lot of things to talk about, discuss. A lot of things happening very, very quickly. And we try and wake you up the best way we know how to do so. Wrapping up hour number one. Hour number two coming up in just a minute. Stay here.
Speak. It's time for Reason.
Do you think that there would be a federal government in this administration right now if we have more states, whether it's Kansas or anywhere in the country, say, you know what, I believe that I'm going to go ahead and expand my Medicaid program and I'm going to look for federal aid in order to make that happen? What do you think they're going to say as we're trying to limit some of these social programs with a Republican majority in both chambers and a Republican presidency? What do you think is going to happen?
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. Isn't it nice to be right in the middle of the country? You can go anywhere from an equal amount of time-ish. Broadcasting right here on the Big Talker, KQAM 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM simulcasting TV. Welcome aboard TV, folks. KGPT TV, channel 2610. We love having you aboard as well. Also, Facebook Live's up and running, facebook.com/1480 KQAM. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Lots to get to this hour. Coming up in about 20 minutes, we have Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell. He'll be joining us as he does on a Wednesday. Also, in the 8 o'clock hour, just 1 hour from now, we'll have Michael Stumo. He's the CEO of the Coalition for a Prosperous America, talking about Trump trade deals and the state of the economy as of right now. And are we prospering as a nation? Some say yes. Some say no. According to CNN Money, almost half of U.S. families cannot afford basics like rent and food. Now we've seen the unemployment rates. That's a good number. Is that starting to go down? We're seeing people go back to work. We're actually seeing more jobs than people in many, many scenarios. But nearly 51 million households don't earn enough money to afford a monthly budget. That includes housing, food, childcare, healthcare, transportation, and a cell phone, according to the latest study released Thursday by the United Way, this is Thursday last week, of the Alice Project. That's 43% of households in the entire U.S. The figure includes 16.1 million households living in poverty, as well as the 34.7 million families that the United Way has dubbed Alice, asset limited, income constrained, employed. So they're employed, just not making enough money. What does that tell you? First off, I mean, there's numerous different aspects, and we can unveil the layers of the onion on here, but there's a lot of different aspects to this. Do we need wages to go up? Sure, we need wages to go up a little bit once people actually start spending their money again. Number two, they're so far in debt that we've created this issue on our own. And you can listen to Dave Ramsey for those talks on how to actually get out of debt and how to actually pay off your money. Let me tell you something. If you have a cell phone bill that's $300 a month, yeah, you're probably going to be restrained a little bit on your budget. Just saying. If you have a $200, $300, $400 cell phone bill every month for you and the family, then you have a problem. And maybe that's what we need to start looking at instead of saying, oh, my wages are too high or my wages are too low because my expenditures are too high and I need to be able to get more money. So it's the evil corporation. Let's hate on the corporations. Let's hate on the business owners. Let's hate on the fact that the union's not getting me enough money. Let's hate on the fact that the wages are still really stagnant and still really low. Let's hate on all that because I can't afford my bills. No, wait a second. We're making more money. It may not be growing as inflation grows to some degree, but at the same time, we're making more money than we've ever made before in this nation. If you go back 40, 50, 60 years, the salaries were a heck of a lot lower, and people were actually still making it then as well, right? They were still making a living. They were still doing their thing. They didn't have debts as much. They didn't have car debts or leases. They didn't have mortgages. They didn't have $400 cell phone bills. They didn't have all these crazy. They didn't have student loans that took up half of their income every single month. Like, what? They didn't have that. And they made it just fine. So when we look at the 51 million households that don't earn enough to afford a monthly budget, is it because of the salaries that are too low? Or is it because that we've grown to just accept the fact that we're going to live in debt? We just live in debt the rest of our lives and that we don't have enough money to pay for our monthly debts. Which side is it? Or is it a little bit of both? That's the way I open it up to you this hour. 316-721-8255. It's very interesting to see people complain about this. And you know what some are going to say? You know, it's all the corporations that need to pay you more. I mean, but do you go to your boss and say, you know, boss, I need a raise? And the boss sits back and says, why do you need a raise, sir? Or ma'am? Or whoever? And you say, well, I need a raise because I can't afford to go buy the groceries. I'm just not making enough money. I can't survive on this. And I say, okay, well, why is that? Well, I just got a motorcycle and I took a loan out on that, and now that really squeezed my budget. And at the same time that I went and got a new cell phone package where I have unlimited crazy streaming all the time, and now my cell phone bill's $200 a month. And then I ended up getting a house that was way above my means because I needed it. So now I have a mortgage payment that's really high like that. And then at the same time that I went to, and I got a car as well. So the times that I can't ride the motorcycle, I got the car. So now I have a car and I got all these bills and I just can't afford it. And the boss sits back and says, well, you know what? Is that your fault or is that mine? Because we're paying you what the market actually sets for you and for your job and for your job skills. We're paying market value for you, and you're not going to manipulate the market on what the value of your job is just because you can't pay your own personal budgets and you can't figure out your own personal budget. That's on you. That's not on me. So it's a very interesting story, and of course CNN comes out and it's scoped with not even mentioning any of that stuff. It's just the fact to try and get people riled up and say, look, the Republicans hate people because they're all about the corporations. They're all about the CEOs. They're all about the crony capitalism. They're all about the higher ups, and they don't care about the poor people who can't afford to live, when a lot of times the people that can't live on their incomes have done it to themselves because they're being paid market value, and either they're supposed to be moving up and they're not supposed to be in that position long term, like, I don't know, a McDonald's worker or employee, where you're not supposed to be making $15 an hour flipping burgers at McDonald's, or it's already at market value and you could make a decent living if you actually got your budget in place. We need to remember that we need to take on personal responsibility. Your thoughts on this? Am I right? Am I wrong? Is there a mixture between a happy blend between the two? 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones here, shall we? Line number one. Good morning. What's your name?
Morning, it's Deacon.
Deacon, what's happening, sir?
Hey, you know it's a beautiful day out here.
Every day.
Every day. Hey, this is actually what I called in for, but I'm going to jump on this one.
Okay.
I grew up poor. I was so poor we couldn't afford the other OR. All right? Mom worked 3 jobs, went down, and she'd get the commodities box, and, you know, that was the majority of our groceries. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the food stamps that came in the little booklet. You know, once she got, you know, her education and got a better job, we didn't need that anymore. You know, entry-level jobs are not intended to pay you a living wage. They're for people learning how to work, you know, be responsible and go out and work a job and, you know, learn the skill of actually being employed. Crafting
their skill, getting the work experience, learning a work ethic, learning when to show up, what to do when you're actually on your job, when to actually leave, when to get done. So that way you can work your way up. Exactly. It's not supposed to be there. Look, I worked at a feed store in high school, making $7 an hour, baling hay, you know, unloading the hay to the hay trucks when they came in, loading them up into customers' vehicles when they bought some, loading and unloading the 50-pound bags of horse feed and dog feed and cow feed and everything of the sort. And I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't have made it very far if I just thought that I would have stayed there my entire life at $7 an hour and then expected to raise a family on that.
Absolutely not. And, you know, I'm a trash man. We make pretty decent money, but right now we have multiple openings because people are too good to come out here and work trash. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm better than that. No, you're not. Get out here and do a job. But, you know, as far as the money goes, people have cell phones and they have cable TV and internet and, you know, a car that they can't afford, and if you can afford to buy cigarettes and alcohol, then you can afford to buy a whole bunch of other stuff because that stuff's expensive.
Sure.
We don't have the internet and the cable TV at my house because that's an expense that we can't afford right now and that we don't really need.
Sure. No, it's a great point.
I'm teaching my kids, hey, this is all of life's about choices, and you have the freedom to decide whatever you want, but you do not have the freedom to be free from your decisions. You have got to answer for what you've done.
Actions come responsibility and consequences, the cause and effect, and people don't seem to remember that. You're absolutely right. Now, again, I wonder when people got to that point where we said, oh, we're too good for that job, which is why you hear progressives come out and say, oh, you know what, that's why we need the green card. We need to bring illegals into the country because they're going to do the jobs that we don't want to do, and they're going to be out picking the fields for us because they have no other talents, they have no other skills, and that's what they're good for, right?
And I'm going to throw a short story at you. My grandparents went through the Great Depression. And my papa, he told me one day about he was out digging a ditch. And there was, 10 or 12 guys out digging the ditch. And this guy comes walking by, and he just grabs a hold of a shovel and starts digging. And the foreman says, man, I can't afford another worker. And he goes, please, I just want to work.
Sure.
The way this country's gone now is pathetic.
How many people do you hear say that today?
I just want to work. At the end of the day, I want to feel good about what I did today.
Exactly. What are your hours as a garbage man, by the way? What kind of hours? I know you're up way early. You're up right at 6 a.m. out and about doing your thing. How long are your days?
Well, actually, on Wednesdays, we start at 4.
You start at 4, so you're up by 2?
Yeah. I got to get up, get out, get the truck checked out every morning before we roll out, make sure everything's in good working order. With the city I work for, it's normally 7 to 3.
Okay.
It's an 8-hour day, but we're shorthanded, so we get a couple hours overtime here and there, and it's a good paying job. You got to get out here and want to work because we don't put up with no slackers.
Well, and you have to. I mean, you got to be able to keep moving at a relatively fast pace to get everything done that you need to. So I love it. Deacon, I appreciate the call, my friend, very much so. A hard worker man. I tell you what, right there, being the garbage man, doing, as you mentioned, the jobs that a lot of people don't want to do, really kind of the unsung heroes of today. So I appreciate that very much. I love it. 316-728. Remember that segment, Home Improvement, the unsung heroes? They bring out the guy that manages the porta potties and they do that kind of thing. The garbage guy, that's something that a lot of people don't say, oh yeah, that's the career that I want to do. But mention, hey, you know what? You work hard, you get paid decent, and there you go. You make a living off it. There's nothing wrong with that. People need to be proud of that. People need to be proud of actually having the response and seeing what they've done at the end of the day and coming home with calluses on their hands and saying, you know what? I did something today. I love my job here. I don't get a whole lot of calluses on my hand other than what I do outside of work and actually working at home and doing my thing. But I love my job and I feel fulfilled at the end of the day because I'm exhausted and I do 12, 14-hour days sometimes. But I feel good about it. But at the end of the day, I still want to get those hands dirty. I feel that I actually come home with a product that I feel I'm proud of. But at the same time, sometimes you just need to get your hands dirty and do that. And not enough people like to do that, especially the younger generation. They don't like to do that. They don't see it. And then we start complaining of the fact that, you know what, if I would have stayed at my high school job working at a feed store at $7.25 an hour, and then I tried to raise a family on that, and I would have gone to my boss and said, you know what, I really need to be starting to fight for $15 an hour. Well, why is that? Well, because I started a family. Well, dummy, you weren't supposed to be here for the last 20 years. You weren't supposed to be here for the last 10 years. You were supposed to be here during high school while you were gaining the work experience, and then you were supposed to go off and actually get educated and go on to do something else. During college, I told you about this as well, overnights working at a ice packing plant, bagging ice, making overnight $8.50 an hour. Should I have stayed there and said, yeah, you know what, I really need to start making $15 an hour. Andy, we only sell the bags for $2 a piece at the store, and that's just enough to keep us going with a little bit of profit. Yeah, I need $15 an hour. Why? Well, because I got a lot of expenses. I got my YouTube account, I got my Hulu account, I got my Netflix account, I got my cell phone bill, I got my internet bill, I got my cable bill, and I just can't afford all this stuff, and then I'm trying to start a family. I need more money. Yeah, good luck with that. See how that works out when you tell your boss that. 316-721-8255. Let's take another phone call here. Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
It's Wallace.
Wallace, good morning, sir. How are you?
Oh, not bad. How you doing?
Hey, we're living the dream every day.
There you go. So I'm going to fold this all in. You know, when we had those people protesting Chris Kobach the other day?
Yes.
In his office? You know, I watched these people walk out in handcuffs, and I got to tell you, I'm too busy working to protest. And it got me thinking, how many of these people are unemployed, and they're using my tax dollars, and instead of during daylight hours when people are looking to hire people, they're in there protesting to bring in more illegals to do jobs that they're not willing to go out and start doing.
They don't want to do them. You're right. I mean, this is during the week. I mean, we can see, and you and I, I mean, we go to rallies and we go to, we don't usually do protests, but we do rallies at least, and we do stuff on the weekends. But you're right, and I'm glad you brought that up. The protesters, as they're walking out in a chain, all of them tied up and just walking out in a line, proud of it, proud of them actually getting arrested and actually protesting Chris Kobach's office in Topeka because they have nothing better to do. So they're very proud of these types of things. I don't get how that's productive, and now all of a sudden you can feel like, hey, you know what? I did a really productive thing today. Now I can walk away and I can go home and I can feel accomplished.
Well, see, and the government, you know, we hear this mantra that, well, illegal aliens are just doing jobs that Americans won't do. No, they're doing jobs that is more lucrative, that they pay the American person, the American citizen, not to do. And that's why illegals are taking it, because it's more beneficial for the American citizen to collect welfare and become part of what I call the flat-ass society.
Sure.
It's more lucrative. And I agree with you. I mean, these people go out and get these huge cell phones. You know what? If you have, you know, a family of 3 or 4, you know what? Not everyone needs a cell phone. There used to be a time and place when all you had was just a home phone.
That's true.
And that's good enough. And if you're not working,
let me ask you this as well. When it comes to the younger kids, when do you get your kids a cell phone?
Well, when you think they're, you know, I guess when they're responsible and you can afford one.
Or when they can afford one, right?
Well, I mean, look, you know, I got my kids when they were a little bit younger, you know, because, you know, I was out on the road a lot and I wanted to be able to stay in touch with them.
Sure.
But I could afford it. I didn't ask someone else to give me welfare. You know, it's you know what really bugs me is when people like these protesters are out protesting instead of finding a job. You know, for those that were unemployed, I'm not saying they were all unemployed that were there. It's almost like when you borrow $500 from your family and you haven't paid it all back, but yet you find money to go take a nice vacation.
Sure. Why
That's
not?
how tacky it is. But, you know, the cell phone thing, like I said, hey, if you can afford it, go for it. If you can't, hey, you know, it's
your own personal budget. It's your own personal budget for you to make your own decisions.
Well, you know, I guess they have the federal government is a good example of, you know, spending money they don't have. And, you know, let me run this past you. Our kids, when they grow up, let's face it, family life is pretty much socialism. The parents provide housing, the parents provide food, the parents provide medicine, the parents provide everything. And so these kids leave home. But what the parents didn't do is at a certain point, the kids need to start working for what they get. Instead, they just go off and their mom and dad help pay for college. They provide them a car. The family is doing everything. And that's what kids think the government should do, is provide them everything, because the parents never transition them.
Well, and that's the problem right there. And I got to take a break, so I got to cut you off while there. But you're right there. That's the problem right there, because it's not supposed to be socialism. It's supposed to be a capitalist style, because you're not just giving them the welfare, but you're investing in them to actually succeed and grow up. And that's the whole point that we're missing now, is instead of just realizing that, well, you know what, we're an investment that's going to make you better in the end to where you can be dependent, and you're off on a good start, and you've got a good foundation, and you've got a good work ethic, you can do great things, and then you're off and about, and we don't have to support you any more than that, because we know that when you go off that you're going to be set and ready to go. That's the ideal situation. Today, we don't do that. We do create that socialist mentality to where they're just used to being taken care of without actually standing on their own, and they're not used to it, and then they got a rude awakening later on.
With Andy Hoosier.
This week have a good run of cattle. We'll have around 500 or 600 head of cattle. A couple of our featured consignments this week will be 60 head of steer and heifer calves off of wheat that have been weaned a long time. That'll weigh 700 to 800 pounds. And then we're going to have 8 head of purebred Angus virgin bull calves here. These calves will be 15 to 22 months old, and they'd be calving ease type of bulls that a person could put on heifers. If you have any questions about any of our consignments, or if you'd like to give us some consignments of your own, give us a call at 316-320-3212, and you can check out a complete list of our consignments and upcoming sales at www.eldorado-livestock.com.
El Dorado Livestock Auction, 2.5 miles east of El Dorado on Highway 54. A sale every Thursday, 11 a.m.
Bottom of the hour news coming up. Went a little long again in that last one. We love it. Keep it rolling, baby. When we come back, Jim Howell, Sedgwick County Commissioner, going to join us talking about some of the county issues in the upcoming County Commission meeting today. It's a Wednesday. Let's rock it, baby. This is the Voice of Reason.
Taking talk radio to the next level. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back into the Voice of Reason, making it happen today. It is a Wednesday, hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. That's the way we roll. That's the way we have fun. That's the way we do it right here on the KQAM airwaves. Welcome in, 316-721-8255. By the way, real quick, just to wrap up the last conversation, when it came to the protest at Chris Kobach's office just a couple of days ago and the number of people being run right out, being arrested because they were just a nuisance and that's their job and they were feeling like they're being productive or something. Chris Kobach did respond to them. Here's the statement he made. What these protesters do not seem to understand is that the law is the law. Oh, mon Dieu. What these people do not understand is that the law is the law and illegal means illegal. Oh, man. Oh. Kind of a hate-filled statement right there. I have fought illegal immigration throughout my entire career. When I am governor, Kansas will stop giving in-state tuition to illegals and sanctuary cities will cease to exist in our state. So that's coming made after these protests and probably, of course, just rolling them up more. But sometimes you just got to do that. It is time. We do it every single Wednesday. As we love having him on the show every single week, Sedgwick County Commissioner Mr. Jim Howell back with us. Jim, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very good. I've been outside and the weather is just absolutely unbelievable today. So
oh, man,
it's going to be a great day.
It is beautiful. I see good weather really for the next few days, hopefully, so we can maintain and we can keep this ball rolling.
It feels like summer is actually arriving, and it feels kind of pretty awesome out there today.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Great things happening at the county level, as you guys have been, of course, talking about the budgetary stuff going into the summer, talking about ways to deregulate. But last week, you guys had some great big ribbon cuttings and some positive things happening in the county. What's going on?
Well, it's interesting. Politicians usually love these things, and I guess I'm not an exception to that. It's a lot of fun to go to some of these events, the groundbreakings and the ribbon cuttings, but man, they're just coming at us right and left. We're actually doing sometimes 2 of those in one day. This last week, I think I went to 4 or 5 groundbreakings or ribbon cuttings, and I have another one this afternoon. So it's exciting times. For me, anecdotally, it just feels like things are more positive than they've been for quite a long time. To see businesses investing in our community and with good ideas, expanding their footprints and hiring more people, to me, just feels really good right now.
Very good. I love it. I asked this to the city yesterday as well, and I want to ask you the same question. But are we seeing, right now we're seeing a 17-year unemployment rate for 17-year low unemployment rate for the state of Kansas. We're seeing industries wanting to reinvest into the city, especially around here with Spirit and with other things happening. From your perspective, over the last couple of years since you've been in the county commission, have you seen and are we seeing decent growth, not just in the city of Wichita, but in the entire county and the surrounding areas?
When you say growth, I assume you're talking, fiscal growth or population growth. What do you?
A little bit of both. Yeah, a little bit of both. But I mean, fiscal growth just by the population growth and by industrial growth, or I mean, any type of success that we're seeing things grow the way we need to.
Well, it's really kind of hard to say we've grown a lot because you have to go back and think where we were 10 years ago. We went through a tremendous recession. In fact, I think population stability in Kansas, including Sedgwick County, has been a challenge for a very long time. So, I think we are trickling upward at this point, but it's just not enormous growth. I mean, it does feel pretty good. Things are certainly positively trending, but we are behind the rest of the nation, generally speaking. So I have to couch my comments in saying things are better and things are certainly trending correct, in the correct way, but we are behind a lot of other parts of the community, or let's just say the country. And I'm trying to figure out why that is. Is it because we're a high-tech state? Is it because people don't like living in Kansas? I honestly don't really know exactly how to put my thumb on that, but I'll tell you, I think we continue to have a stigma, and I think people who come here and they can actually give us a chance, they actually love it in Kansas. They love it in Sedgwick County.
Sure. And
actually love it in Wichita, but we've got to get them to experience this community. And once they come here and they see how great it is, we generally do win over a lot of people. This is a great place to live, but their base opinion usually is somewhat less than less than positive. So, unfortunately, I think that I don't know, it comes from the Wizard of Oz, or people who come here. I think we got tornadoes every day. I'm not sure what they're thinking, but really, this is a great place. I've lived a lot of places, Andy. When I was in the military, I went and visited a lot of places, and in my business career, I've gone a lot of places and, to see what's out there. I just think Wichita is a tremendous opportunity for people to really thrive and grow a family and create a lot of fiscal success for themselves. There's lots of opportunity here if they simply engage that opportunity. They can see how great it is. But so it's really hard to answer that question. But I guess, factually speaking, statistically, we're not doing as much as we probably what I would like to see us do. So we're a little bit behind that curve.
Well, we are moving in the right direction, as you said. And I'm always the optimist. You know me, I'm the eternal optimist.
Andy's optimism of the day.
All right, I'm ready.
And coming from the eternal optimist that I am, I mean, we see opportunity, even though the state may be stagnant, maybe with some of with the tax rates, with the property taxes, with the incentive, or whether it is the whole Wizard of Oz and tornadoes are going to sweep us across, whatever it is. If there's issues statewide, the county actually sees opportunity and allows for the most opportunity than many other places. And you guys have been working to not only deregulate, not only cut the size of government at the county level, not only to try and focus on the private sector, but also make the government spending more efficient in the county. And just by that stuff, we're going to see the positive results in the long run, which is what we need to be doing, right?
You betcha. That's exactly right. And by the way, we had an interesting discussion at our staff meeting yesterday. I don't know who put this together, but it was quite a presentation. It made me think that we're doing some things right in our community. I'd like to share these numbers with you real quickly. There's actually going clear back to 1972. We have what's called the cost of government. And how many pennies per dollar of personal income are used for our Sedgwick County government? And we've been tracking this for a very long time. And I noticed just in the last decade that 2007 and 2017 is my 2 points I'm looking at. But Sedgwick County government back in 2007 cost 1.16 pennies per dollar of personal income. That's to provide all the things of public safety services and infrastructure and quality of life things like Sedgwick County Zoo.
Sure.
All that would fit within that 1.16 cents per dollar of personal income. Interesting thing is, going forward at 2017, we've actually reduced our total revenue by, reduced our total revenue by about $16 million, but our personal income, our aggregate personal income has gone up by $6 billion. What that means is our cost of government has gone from 1.16 cents per dollar personal income down to 0.84 cents, which is a 27.5% reduction in the cost of government relevant to the aggregate personal income. That's, to me, is awesome. That just shows that the government is more efficient. We're providing more services than we ever have. In fact, I think one of the things we're going to talk about today is EMS Week. I would tell you, I think we have one of the best EMS systems in the entire nation.
Sure.
It's a very, very good system, and I'm really impressed with the services that Sedgwick County provides. We're doing a pretty good job, and the cost of government overall has gone down. And I just looked at another snapshot. I asked our CFO for some numbers, and she said that we've paid down our debt in the last 3.5 years. That's just since I've been here. Paid down our debt 21.74%, which means over 1/5 of our debt has been paid off in 3.5 years. Most of these bonds are 20 and 25-year bonds, and
Sure.
so we're aggressively trying to get ourselves in fiscal health, and we're continuing to provide great services for our Sedgwick County citizens. And so I'm really impressed with Sedgwick County overall. I think we're on a good track.
Oh, absolutely. And talk about the process of how you guys did that. I mean, come on, a 27% drop when it comes to the cost of government is a huge astronomical number, and because a lot of governments, they don't do that. And you were a former state legislator. You know what happens at the statewide level. We see different counties around the state. We see different states as a whole all over the nation. They don't lower the size of government. They don't lower the spending of government. It's always the growing. It's like the weed that never goes away. As soon as you try and trim it down, it grows right back even faster. That's the way the government is. I very, very rarely hear of a story saying, oh, look, the cost of government went down dramatically by 27%. We cut, as you guys did last year, cut your cap on debt to where we actually have less debt in the county. We're actually flourishing very well. Our programs are running efficiently. And oh, by the way, the cost to you as the taxpayer and as the person living in the county is actually going down for the cost and the effectiveness of these programs. So we're actually doing very well.
I think it's great to do this type of introspection once in a while. And I really don't know what cities and counties are doing. I'd like to get some of the data to find out how we compare to other cities and counties, but I think we're doing pretty good. But one of the problems I have is I am actually talking to a lot of constituents these days because it is election season, but people feel a wet blanket. It's a heavy-handed government. They just feel it.
Sure.
And so I say, so I relate some of this information to them, and they usually come back and say, well, it's the school, it's the cities, and it's the state, and it's the federal government. And so, unfortunately, when people feel the heavy hand of government, it's an aggregate for them of the every level of government added together, and that's what they're feeling right now. And that's one of the challenges. Even though I think we may be doing pretty good, there's a lot of government spending going on. We're growing government virtually everywhere, and I'm proud of Sedgwick County, but people don't tend in their minds to separate out Sedgwick County from other levels of government, and they are feeling the heavy hand of government right now in Kansas, and that may be one of the reasons why we are slower to grow, and I think that's unfortunate.
Sure. No, absolutely. We got a few minutes left. We're talking with Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell. As you mentioned, this today at the Sedgwick County Commission meeting, there's going to be a lot of discussion on a few different things. One of them is, as you mentioned, with EMS Week. And how big, by the way, is our EMS department in the county?
Well, we generally, at peak times, we usually have around 19 ambulances anywhere in Sedgwick County that are providing services at any given time. We have 16 EMS stations and 19 ambulances on the street. Sometimes we actually maybe go a little bit above that when we have a known peak period coming up, like maybe 4th of July. We might have a few extras on the street at that point. But we also, people don't know this, but part of our plan of care, our response plan is when you call 911, if it's a medical call or if it's a car accident or whatever, we will always just deploy a ambulance at the same time we deploy a fire truck response. And all of our firefighters, we have altogether, counting every department, we have about 40 fire stations in Sedgwick County. And if you add up the number of personnel that are wearing a uniform and able to respond, our fire department outnumbers our paramedics by quite a lot.
Sure.
And so more than likely, the first person on scene most of the time is a fire truck, but they can provide airway. They can clear an airway, they can stop breathing, they can do CPR, they can do all kinds of patient care. They also have the jaws of life. They can remove someone from a vehicle if they need to. And so we deploy the firefighters, and they provide EMT services everywhere in Sedgwick County. That's part of our system, but then the ambulance will always be there as quickly as possible. But many times the ambulance will get there after the fire truck. But people need to look at the aggregate, the total system of care. And altogether, between the firefighters and our EMS paramedics, we have a lot of people across this county that can provide some great services.
Absolutely. Coming up in the meeting today, if people want to go to it, what else could they anticipate hearing today other than talking about the EMS week? But what else you guys got going today?
Well, we have an ongoing discussion on our admin building. Just to remind people, we are essentially kicking ourselves out of the courthouse, which is it needs to happen because this was really the plan a long time ago when the rest of the county needed this. When the courtrooms and the DA and the sheriff needs the space, we always planned on moving out of this building, but that day has come. The district attorney's kind of living in the cramped quarters. They got stuff stacked to the ceiling, and they're no longer able to efficiently operate because they can't stay organized in that type of a footprint. So we've got to move out of this building. We're going to clear out about 3 floors of the courthouse, and we need a new place to go. And so the question is, how do we do that efficiently and quickly, and do that being sensitive to the dollars once again? We have a lot of options on the table, and we've got to really dissect those options. And of course, as we have 5 different opinions as a legislative body. We are 5 commissioners with 5 different ideas. It's going to be interesting to see whether we can come together on any of these things and actually bring any ideas forward. The discussion should be interesting. This has been an ongoing discussion. We started this really in earnest probably the first part of this year, but we have some serious options on the table. We've got to process at least either take some options off the table or maybe make a selection on a direction to go forward. But this is a very big decision, and we're going to take our time at it, I think. But we are going to talk about that. We meet at 9 o'clock, as we do most Wednesdays here at the Sedgwick County Courthouse at 525 North Main. That's the Blue Courthouse. 3rd floor. We love to have people come and visit with us. Of course, we also do broadcast our meetings live, and we also do allow people to speak with the commissioners. You don't have to sign up early. You're welcome to just to show up and share your opinion on any of the things on our agenda or anything else that you want to just bring up. You want to raise a different issue. We have people do that frequently as well.
Sure.
But we love people to come to our meetings, and we do post them on YouTube as well. But we just love to have people come up and visit with us if possible.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, I know a lot of people may be skeptical about, the expense of something like a new building, an admin building like that. But with what you guys did with the DMV and how efficient that was and using a building and tailored it to what you guys need, that runs extremely efficient, really, really well. And so, that even puts a little bit of faith into a lot of the people that after we talk about how efficient the government's running at the county level, that, if we do this, we know it's going to be done the right way and it's going to be done cost effective for the taxpayers.
Well, that's our goal, and it is a serious issue. Some of our crime stats are going in the wrong direction, and so to provide adequate space for the DA and the sheriff and the courts, it's time, and we have got to do this. And so, as part of continuing to provide good services to Sedgwick County and trying to make sure people have public safety and our court systems working smoothly, and people can get access to the judicial system quickly, which is a constitutional principle. We want to be able to speed things through, if at the rates that people want. We have to provide the adequate spaces. And so this is just, again, another one of those things about if you want to maintain good government, you have to do these things once in a while.
Sure, absolutely. Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell, always a pleasure, my friend. You guys enjoy the meeting today. Enjoy the week. Happy Memorial Day to you, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Awesome. Thank you, Andy. We'll talk to you then.
Very good times. Always good there. Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell will take a break, wrapping up hour number 2 on a Wednesday. This is The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
There it is, Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell. We always love chatting with him on a Wednesday. Great information there. We love having the city, love having the county on, being able to get that information out. Lots more coming up. Hour number 3 right around the corner. When we come back, we're going to shift gears to the federal level for a little bit. Michael Stumo, he's with the Coalition for a Prosperous America. He'll be joining us and talking to us about some of the Trump trade deals along with some of the goodies happening at the national level. Plus, your thoughts and calls, lots more to get to. There are a lot of things that we can discuss, and we're going to try and cram it all in here on the show whenever we get the opportunity. But it is open lines to you for the rest of the show after our interview. This is your show. As always, it's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is The Voice of Reason on a hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. Let's wake up, baby. Let's get pumped up. Let's get excited. Let's get ready for a holiday weekend right around the corner. Hour number 3 of The Voice of Reason coming up. Stay here.
It's time for Reason.
Do you think that there would be a federal government in this administration right now if we have more states, whether it's Kansas or anywhere in the country, say, you know what, I believe that I'm going to go ahead and expand my Medicaid program and I'm going to look for federal aid in order to make that happen? What do you think they're going to say? As we're trying to limit some of these social programs with a Republican majority in both chambers and a Republican presidency, what do you think is going to happen?
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting on TV. What's up? Watching the video. I'm surprised I haven't broken the camera yet, but we are live on TV, KGPT TV, channel 2610. Also on Facebook Live, facebook.com/1480 KQAM. Go on there, like it, share it, leave a comment, ask a question. I want to hear from you today. Michael Stumo, with the Coalition for a Prosperous America, not able to join right now. We'll get him back on the show at a later time. So it's open lines to you for this hour at 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. That's okay, because we got a lot to talk about. So it is open lines to you. Whatever you do want to talk about, you're more than welcome to do so. I want to bring up something that is concerning that we've touched on here and there. And we read a story earlier in the show about how 43% of U.S. families or U.S. homes are struggling to pay their basic bills. And we asked about the dependency of federal programs versus the increase in debt that we have as a person versus the hikes in wages and the inflation that we have when it comes to wages, and where it all fits in, how we all pay these off, how we all live in our happy little means, and what kind of jobs that we actually need. 51 million households don't earn enough money to afford the monthly budget that includes housing, food, childcare, healthcare, transportation, and a cell phone, according to the latest study released last week by the United Way ALICE Project. ALICE being assets limited, income constrained, employed. You don't have any assets, you have an income that's constrained, whether it's your fault or whether it's the fault of the low wages that you have, but yet you are still employed, which is why we see families that are working 2 or 3 jobs. You see both members of the family working. You see both members of the family working 2 or 3 jobs apiece. Less time at home, less time with the family, less time doing things. And one issue that seems to pop up all the time is, of course, number one, gas prices, which gas prices are on the uptrend, which, by the way, the gas price is going up and up and up right now. We haven't quite hit $3 a gallon yet that I've seen here in Kansas. In New York right now, it's going to be going up to $5 from what it sounds like, and even possibly higher than that. I wonder who's going to get the blame for that. Is it going to be the oil companies? I know that they always go after the oil. Look at the oil companies. They're just raping the people for their money and for their incomes and for the taxes or for the profits they put on there, because look at all the profit the oil companies are actually making, when it's actually the taxes by the government. And that's what we have to be concerned about. Now, do we like this? No. Are they still lower than what they were under Barack Obama at times? Yeah. So we got a ways to go to actually top that, but we are on the uptrend, and we need to be very cautious of that, whether it's because of the conflict happening in the Middle East, whether it's because we're drilling for a record number of amounts of oil and barrels of oil here in the U.S. I would think that would help with the prices. Not sure why they're quite going up. You have to talk to a market expert on that one. But how many people do you think, show of hands, do you think that they're going to actually blame the oil companies for the profits because of the gas prices going up right now? I wonder who's going to get the blame for that one. Nonetheless, we have oil prices going up. We have ridiculous cell phone bills that we cover. We have mortgages. We have student loans. We have crazy amounts of debt. And then we can't afford the daily, monthly, weekly living expenses. We have one of the highest sales tax rates in the nation when it comes to food. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but most states, they don't have sales tax on food. Most states don't do that. More states realize that when it comes to essentials that you have to survive, you don't tax that. You don't tax water. You don't tax food. You don't tax that stuff. You tax other things when you go out and actually choose to spend your money elsewhere. And spend your money on other things, and you actually, you have that that money available for you to actually invest in the economy. That's what you tax. We don't tax food mostly Here, oh yeah, let's put a 7.5% tax rate on that, baby. We'll rake in the dough when it comes to that state government, baby. We'll just be rolling in it. Oh yeah. Most states don't do that. So we have that to deal with in the state. Then we have our electric rates. And as we see, 43% of U.S. families are struggling to pay their monthly bills. Then we see a story like this, to where Westar Energy is talking about a substantial tax rate hike that changes the way that you'd be billed for electricity. And it's, guess what? Retroactive. According to the Topeka Capital Journal, public hearing on Westar Energy's rate change proposal as of yesterday exposed a burning desire among consumers to oppose a retroactive surge in the cost assessed by the Topeka-based electric utility to accommodate private power generation with solar panels. Now, we mentioned the solar panels before, if you remember, weeks ago. And the solar panels that people want to do to actually, whether it's to save the environment, whether it's to save on their electric bill, to invest in something good for the environment, whatever your motive was to invest in solar panels. And again, I got no problem with solar panels or windmills or anything of the sort. If you choose to do that for whatever reason that you have, all the power to you. What I don't like is the government forcing you to do so, or the government doing it on a public level. But if you choose to do it at the personal level, great for you. Applaud, because you got to make your own personal decision. It's just not cost effective enough to be able to do it at the grand scale on the public dime. But many people are going towards solar panels privately. And the utility company suffering. As a utility, as a company that works for, not necessarily for maybe some profits, but not necessarily a whole lot of profit, because you're a public utility company, they're looking for more profits. And because more people are going on solar panels, less people are using electricity, more people are trying to conserve their energy, so that way they don't have to bill crazy amounts of electricity and then have to pay for it. What are they doing? They're looking at retroactive rate hikes for the utility company to charge people that have gone privatized with their solar panels, along with the regular rate hikes that they want to do for everybody. Can you imagine a company saying, we're not making enough profits? If you're in the private sector and you're not making enough profits, then guess what? You go downhill and you shut doors, or you adapt so that way you can maintain your profits and your consumers. That's the normal response to this. Is normally we would say, yeah, you know what? We got some changes to make, or else we're going to be shutting doors. But a public utility company, a public company that's in there for profits, you know what? We're losing money. We can't shut down. We're, quote unquote, too big to fail. We're run by the public dime. We need to change the rates, and you must accept them. There's nothing you can do about it. You will accept them because you can't get electricity from anybody else other than us. We will change the rates to whatever we want to, run to controlled and somewhat moderated and controlled by the government, and then you just have to eat it and just do it. Westar is asked to increase the monthly service change by $4 a month from $14.50 to $18.50 for the higher rates. In essence, it costs the same to deliver the electricity to a customer, whether they use a lot or a little, and Westar wants to shift more of the fixed costs on running the system to fixed monthly service charges. Talk about socialism. All wrapped up in what? Have you ever heard of a company do this? I mean, just imagine that you go to a restaurant and they say, you know what? We're not going to have you tip the waitresses any longer because the waitress is working really hard. And, sometimes you tip a little bit, sometimes you tip a lot of it. We request a certain percentage of what your overall bill is to be able to tip for the waitress or the waiter. And you can do that, but we're going to get rid of that because some people, it's not fair. Some people have a really, really high bill at the end of the time they ate, and then they tip a little bit more, whereas some people just go in and just get a cup of coffee and don't get a whole lot, and then their tip's really, really low because they're doing a percentage of what their bill actually was. That's not fair because it costs the same for the waitress to go to their table to be able to serve them. So guess what? We're going to have a set flat charge across the board for everybody to pay the same thing, whether you have a $100 tab at the end of the night or whether you have a $5 tab at the end of the night or the end of your meal or your coffee or whatever you get. We're just going to do a flat across the board for $20. So that way it's redistribution and we can just have everybody pay the same thing. And that's why Westar wants to do this. It doesn't matter whether you use a little bit of electricity and you actually have the solar panels. It doesn't matter whether you're 100% with all of your appliances in your home and you use all electricity and you have a $400 a month bill. Guess what? Your rates are going to go up because it costs the same for you to receive it just as much as the person that doesn't get very much. And for you that actually tries to become a little self-dependent and independent, and you have solar panels, or you have windmills, or you have one of these things, we're going to charge you even higher rates because you need to pay your fair share because now you're not tapped into the system as much as what you used to be. And therefore, we're going to come after you and charge you a higher rate. Does this make any sense to anybody? Am I off the rocker here? And maybe this is like, oh, yeah, well, duh, we need to do this. Or is this completely what we call crony capitalism? A public utility company looking for massive amounts of profits to change the rates retroactively, just like we did our tax rates last year, retroactively, in order to try and compensate for people wanting to go off the grid because it's too damn expensive, it's not very efficient, and they want to do something either for the environment or for their own pocketbooks, and we punish them for it. This is why, number one, we can't see any we can't see any change when it comes to some of the alternative energies. Number two, this is a blatant abuse of utilities and public utilities that's supposed to be there for the people to actually just enjoy the public utility. 316-721-8255. Your thoughts on this? Maybe I'm off my rocker, but raising it up $4 a month for a lot of the rate usage when it comes to people that barely use it or use it all the time just to try to compensate for it and then turn around and do a retroactive rate change, to me sounds a little absurd. And what they end up wanting to do is lower the rates a little bit so that way they can raise them dramatically by 2019. Got to take a break. Your thoughts and calls on this and more when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Welcome back into The Voice of Reason, 24 minutes past the hour. Welcome aboard on a Wednesday morning. Hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. That's the way we roll. Talking about businesses. Utility rates could potentially be going up. Tax rates potentially be going up. More expenses continue to be going up. Gas prices going up, and just prices all up the board. But hey, you know what? We love the government, right? Yeah, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Then we see actual legit private businesses that are making decisions, like Starbucks that we talked about earlier when it comes to them allow the loitering. They did have to clarify, by the way, their position, saying that, you know what, we can loiter, you can hang out, but you just can't do drugs or sleep here. Okay, now we know. Then you see Google that's actually making their motto change to where they've had a motto at Google saying, don't be evil. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but don't be evil. Kind of a nice little motto, I guess. You don't want to be evil. Now they're changing that, and they're removing that from their motto. They're removing it to do the right thing. From don't be evil to do. Now, I don't know what this actually changes. The mindset at the business to the employees, the mentality of what's okay and what's not okay, what's accepted or not accepted within the company when it comes to Google and when you search for something, but it goes from don't be evil to do the right thing. What does that mean to be doing the right thing? Because potentially don't being evil, at least you could kind of define what being evil actually is, being narcissistic or actually having an agenda or doing harm to others. Don't be evil as to doing the right thing to where some of that could potentially be accepted and endorsed by, as long as there's a motive behind it because it's the right thing to do. Meaning that if you search for something on Google and you're looking for something for Donald Trump, the right thing, according to them, would be to find all the negative aspects of Donald Trump with the articles that you pop up first, as opposed to the positive things. Because they're doing the right thing of letting people know about the truth, about the terribleness of Donald. That would be an example of, instead of just don't be evil, which I guess they could try and do the same thing there, because then being evil, Donald Trump's evil, so therefore don't do any evil means that you don't actually show anything positive about an evil person like Donald Trump. So I guess it works both ways. It's kind of interesting that they changed their motto in Google from don't be evil to do the right thing. Not sure what that's all about. Your thoughts, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK, line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Patrick.
Hey, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm blessed, sir. How are you?
Hey, more fun than we should be.
Listen, I just had a couple of comments, and then I wanted to ask a question.
Sure.
I want to jump back to the Westar Electric Company.
Sure.
I called you maybe 6 weeks ago and told you what I'd received in the mail from Westar, and I actually went and picked that letter up out of my bin, and I reread it. And that letter for the rate decrease and all of that was stuck inside those slick pamphlets that they always send in the mail, which I don't even care about.
Sure.
But they said they were going to request electrical decrease, but they were going to wait until September. So I'm sure that they're wanting to max their profits out over the summer.
Oh, absolutely. And as they talk about the rate increase in 2019, they would do the slight decrease in September for 3 or 4 or 5 months, or I guess 4 months, and then they would turn around and raise the rates dramatically starting January.
Exactly. And I don't want to, because I don't have that letter in front of me, but it seemed like the decrease was going to be for $1.5 million decrease to the consumers out here.
Sure.
And then
it's something like that because
the increase was going to be like $158 million they're asking for after the first of the year.
Right. Yeah, and it's going to be pretty dramatic because their whole intent is to try and merge with another company, and that's the whole point of why they're wanting to increase the rate, so that way they can get more profits and they can buy out a whole other energy company, so that way they have even more of a monopoly on the utility rates around the really the entire state of Kansas.
Right, and I was glad to hear that from you because I did not know that. But I will make this comment. Didn't they bust up Southwestern Bell and all those companies along way back in the 70s for being monopolies?
That's a good possibility. I don't remember what happened back then, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, look at the market right now. We have Westar Energy here. We have Black Hills Energy kind of on the western part of the state. But you're right, we have kind of that monopoly when really we're supposed to, according to constitutional law, you're not supposed to have any monopolies. The way they're able to get away with it is because they're not technically a private company, but they are a public utility. And why do we need competing public utilities using the same resources to get the resources to the homes, and we could just have one be able to run everything?
Right, and if they're a public utility, don't they represent us? We're the public.
We
pay them the money.
We're supposed to, and therefore we should be able to have a say on what the rate should be. And if they try and raise the rates, then we should be able to say, yeah, no, and maybe we should put it up to a vote or something, because I guarantee you, if you put a vote onto the ballot and say, hey, do you want your electric rates to go up, I wonder how many people would actually vote to support something like that.
Okay, and one more question for you.
I tell you what then. Yeah, hang on the line, Patrick. Don't go anywhere. We got to take a bottom of the hour break. We'll get to your question as soon as we come back. I want to give you time to do so. Got some other calls on the line. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to get to as soon as we come back on The Voice of Reason.
The fastest growing radio show in Kansas.
What? How's he do that?
That's what I'm talking about.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, welcome back into it. Great to have you along today. It is a Wednesday, hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. Having more fun than what we should be having on the radio and TV, by the way. Welcome in, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. We lost Patrick. We'll get him back on the program. Call back, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. In the meantime, let's take some more phone calls, shall we? Line number 3. Good morning. What's your name?
This is Mary Kay.
Hey, good morning, Mary. How are you today?
Good. Yeah, I called in like a week ago about this same rate issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and what I told people to do, and it's open opinion till July 18th, go to the KCC website that was also on that flyer you got in your electric bill.
Mm-hmm.
Go there, and on the right side it says Your Opinion Matters. Click on that and find the rate hike this particular issue. And you can go in there and easily put in a comment, nothing fancy, just what you believe and what you don't want this. That would make a lot of difference because the KCC is not used to anybody paying attention, and neither is Westar, so they just roll it on over. They may give them a little reduced rate hike, but they've done this 23 rate hikes in the last 2 or 3 years, and over almost 50% of our current electric bill is not on our based on our direct usage of kilowatts.
Wow. Rate hikes all over the board. And you're right. I'm sure. I mean, just as Patrick had mentioned before, that it's kind of the flyer that's just in the junk mail that you just toss away. You don't pay attention to it. But
they're required to tell you publish it, and that's their publishing of this.
Sure.
And they know you don't pay any attention to that stuff.
Sure.
But they've done their legal due diligence. And so people need to do this, or they're going to be paying at least $10 more a month at least.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the credit card. When you get the new credit card and they give you all the disclaimers and everything, you don't read through that junk. It's just a big old packet of stuff. But then you miss the fine details that if you do a cash advance and it's like double the regular rate that you actually got on your credit card, that sort of thing.
Right, and this isn't a recent plan. Part of our documents, I have a docket out. It's 16 WSEE-06-6-com on the KCC website. People could read and educate themselves what we've been fighting.
Sure.
I will quote you from 2015. This was in rebuttal to Westar dismissing us.
Mm-hmm.
And this was published in the newspaper. It's a quote from Westar's Hal Jensen and Director of Meter Operations Kevin Heimiller.
Sure.
It was reported in October of 2011 interview. One of the questions asked was, will my rates change? The answer provided by their own directors is, quote, one of the benefits of smart meters is the ability to establish a billing structure where electricity is most expensive at the times when it is in highest demand. Often those peaks occur on hot summer afternoons. By next summer, and that was in 2011, Westar plans to offer different pricing plans that would link rates to demand. If Westar has done, and they did this already in Lawrence, and at that time they voluntarily did this, but they knew all the time that they can go to the KCC
sure.
and ask for a rate hike. And then what the justification is there, they say, well, the federal government under the Obama administration says we can do this, and you can pass all these rate hikes, all these $400 million worth of windmill projects out to you. They can pass it on to the customers, not the stockholders. The stockholders had to get 11% return. So basically I told them, if you're going to issue me all this improvement cost, issue some stock with my electric bill, because the stockholders are not getting this.
Sure. It's very interesting to watch how this happens, and you're right. I mean, when they're looking for paying off certain individuals like the stockholders, as opposed to being accountable to the public, where we pay the electric bill, then I think we have something wrong. I appreciate that very much, Mary Kay. Thank you. I want to take another phone call here. By the way, speaking of that, I know that we had talked about the smart meters as well before. That kind of plays into this as well, and I did not realize it. I got home after we did the show talking about some of the smart meters, and I got home. My wife's like, Andy, I don't know if you know or not, but we actually got a smart meter here. They just put it in a while ago. And I'm like, what? I had no idea. I didn't even know that we had a smart meter when it came to our electricity. Kind of some crazy stuff. 316-721-8255. Let's take another phone call here. Good morning. What's your name?
Patrick.
Hey, Patrick. There we are. We lost you. What's on your mind?
Hey, listen, Andy, I don't know if you can hear me very well, but I can't hear your broadcast back through my phone.
That's odd. You should be able to hear. Now, when you're on a hold, I know that sometimes you can't hear the other caller that's on the air. You should be able to hear me on hold, but you can't hear the other caller sometimes. I know there's some weird glitches in there.
I stand corrected. That's exactly what was happening.
Okay. Yeah, if you are on hold, if anybody's sitting on hold waiting to be on the air, then bear with me if you hear a little dead patches, because you can't hear the other caller that's actually on the line. So
that's actually why I hung up. I thought there was a problem.
Okay. Nope. You are good to go. What's on your mind?
Well, I didn't catch what the lady was saying, and I wish I had, about the KCC and what a person can do to voice their opinion with them.
What she had said was the little flyer that you had mentioned that kind of goes into just kind of the junk mail that you throw away and not really pay attention to. There's a place on there to leave comments, and you can actually write the comments down of your opinion on what they're doing and what's going on, and you can actually send that back to them, and they actually do apparently respond, or at least take that into consideration when enough people do that. But they know that going into kind of the junk mail pile in that sense, they're getting you legally the information, but yet no one really responds to it. So therefore, they kind of get away with doing whatever they want to without a whole lot of response from the general public.
Exactly, and that makes perfect sense. I'll take a look at that. I wish there was something that the people could do to comment to the KCC, and that brings me to my next question.
Mm-hmm.
Are the KCC, are they elected or are they appointed, and by who?
I am assuming that they are appointed. I know that there is the advisory board, the utility commission that's here in the state of Kansas, and I'm assuming that they appoint them, or there's a vote within the commission. But I've never heard of a vote on the head of an electric company of that sort, or maybe it's just the actual company that actually has its CEO or the business owner or whatever that actually just works with the commission. They just kind of they're overseen by the commission, that sort of thing. But we don't vote on the actual commission. That's appointed by the state government. And as far as I'm aware, we don't elect any type of heads or CEOs or presidents of the electric company. Either they're the heads of the company themselves, and that's just the way they are, or they've been appointed by the commission. I'm assuming the former, with them just being the head of the company. But even when it comes to the commission that oversees them when it comes to utilities and electricity in the state, we don't even elect those individuals either. So we have very little say in this entire process.
And that brings me to my very last question. I can take the answer off the air if you want me to. Can a person contact the KCC and, express to them their dissatisfaction with the way this is all being handled?
Sure, absolutely. You can always do that. I can look and see if I can find the contact information. Now, how much they actually take into consideration with your phone call, that's up to them. If enough people try and call and actually voice their concern, or they see that this is a serious issue, then that would be another concern for them if enough people begin to rise up. If people are really upset, then, I don't know. I don't know how they actually go about their business, or if they just say, we just don't really care. I would think that they'd like to hear a little bit of public input on this stuff, but at the same time, they have their interest as well. So it's going to go so far for them. But yeah, I would definitely encourage you to try and reach out.
All right. Well, Andy, thank you. Keep up the good fight. And I'm glad to hear your listeners are up on this too, because that junk mail thing is ridiculous.
It is crazy, isn't it? Try and sneak through the nice little, oh, yeah, we gave you the information. You just didn't look through it all and actually didn't respond back to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's my own opinion. They blame it on the Obama administration, but I guess if somebody wanted to wade through the quagmire up there, you could get a hold of your state senator or congressperson.
Sure.
But that would probably take clear through Trump's second term to even have somebody hear it.
Well, it would definitely be kind of the long roundabout way to go through the middleman like that, but that is another option. You're right.
All right, Andy, thank you, sir.
Hey, love it very much. Appreciate the call very much, Patrick. 316-721-8255. And let's get your take on this. The utility rates, the retroactive utility rates that may be going up thanks to Westar Energy, and what we can do about that. Let's go back to the phones, line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
Yeah, this is Bruce.
Hey, what's going on, sir?
Hey, I read about 20 years ago that Kansas was a net exporter of electricity, and the part of the thing is our rates are high because they can get that amount by selling it in other states. Now, the funny thing is in Texas, when I lived down there, the electric rate down there was half of what it was here. So I find it incredulous that Kansas consumers are the entire cause of the need for this rate hike. It sounds like they're just trying to get what they can get out of us because they could get it elsewhere because they're selling our electricity.
Selling it elsewhere. You're right. And more and more people become more dependent on the electricity. Look, we have a huge source of natural gas here in the state, and I know that we drill for oil and natural gas both in the state of Kansas. And I tell you what, I don't know why, because I don't know many people that use a whole lot of natural gas. We were looking, and I said this story a couple of days ago on the radio, we ended up seeing our oven go out over the weekend. My parents were in town, and of course that's when it has to die. And we are looking around, and we have a gas oven. And we went to the stores, very few gas ovens that they actually have in the appliance stores all over the place, because 90% of them are actually electric, and everybody's like, yeah, we just use electric stoves nowadays. We were looking for a natural gas one. Very difficult to find. Why can't we start using some of the alternative resources like gas to actually lower some of the prices? My gas bill is way dramatically lower than my electric bill every month.
Yeah, people don't realize they can save $30 a month by having a gas dryer.
Sure.
And it's because of the publicity that, oh, you got to have electricity to be modern or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, well, we're gonna be friendly to the environment. We'll use electricity. Well, where do they think it comes from? Burning natural gas in a power plant?
Yeah,
so
but we just forget about that part.
Process.
We forget about that part. No, you're right. There's a lot of electricity that we end up sending out of the state, and for one, especially when it comes to wind power, we're one of the greatest manufacturers of the windmills, but yet we use very little of them actually in the state of Kansas. We export all of it.
Right, exactly. Now, one thought on the whole rate hike thing might be to push our state legislature and so forth to require that any utilities that are going to do rate changes need to print it on a certain color of paper, like red or something, or orange or something like that, to make it stick out in the mailers.
That would be a good idea. Make some of that stuff a little bit known. Be like, hey, you need to read this to understand what's going on. I love it, Bruce. I appreciate the call, my friend, very much so. Great points. I like that idea. Make it stick out as a bright red or bright orange, a fluorescent green or orange or something. Be like, hey, here's your hunting card. Oh, no, wait, it's just your rates going up retroactively for your energy bills. I could see that. Let's go ahead and do that one. Let's go back to the phones. Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Mary Kay.
Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Yeah, I wanted to tell you, I've said it, I thought clearly, but I can tell people how to get a hold of the KCC and do the comment.
Okay.
Thrown out that flyer. Just go on, if you have a computer, go on your search engine and put the word Kansas Corporation Commission or the KCC in.
Sure.
Click on the main page. On the right side, there is one that says Your Opinion Matters. Click on that one, and then it says, the next page says Scheduled Public Hearings and Open Comments. On the merger, that's not it. Public hearing on it's the third one down. 1, 2, 3, 4 down. Public hearing, comment period scheduled for Westar rate hike. And that's open to do to July 18th. And you click on submit a public comment, and you put your name and address, and it's got a box. You can write anything you want. They can call
Very good.
1-800-662-0027 and comment.
Very good. Phone number or the email on there, or the website, be able to input
Ron
it.
Estes. He knows what this is about. He's been working with us, and this started at the federal level, and it'll probably have to end there because we have tried and tried through the KCC, who is appointed by the governor. That's who those KCC members, they are paid out of your electric bill. Also, CURB, C-U-R-B, are the people defending us from these rate hikes. Look at that on the search engine, C-U-R-B, CURB.
I love it. Very good, Mary Kay. I appreciate that. That's great information there. Go onto the website, be able to have your input there, be able to make the phone call and get your, because it is important. It is important to understand what your rates are going to be and if we actually have a say in that. Very much so. Let's go back to the phone, shall we? 316-721-8255. Nope, I guess we lost one there. Let's take another phone call. Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
Hey, happy Wednesday.
Myron, how are you, sir?
Well, I'm doing real great. Wanted to get in real quick. Sent you a message. Kansas Republican Assembly will be meeting Thursday. And the program is going to be Secretary of State candidates.
Oh, very good. Very good. That'll be a great forum to have.
So, the meeting will be at 616 South Ridge Road at Golden Corral. Meeting is at 7, and social time is at 6:30. There is a discount on meals if you want to eat at the Golden Corral, but the meeting is free.
Very good. Very good. I appreciate that info. That's going to be a great one. I know that they do that with every month. So it's a great event to be able to go out and get to know some of the candidates. Secretary of State's one that we have talked about on the show, not necessarily as much as some of the other races, but still an extremely important race to have. So Secretary of State candidates coming up at the Kansas Republican Assembly tomorrow. Great information. Appreciate that, Myron. Let's take a break, wrap up the show today. 9 minutes at the top of the hour. Boy, this goes by way too fast. Fight for your right to have the electric bills and electric rates at the rate that you can afford. That's okay with you without them just doing whatever they want to because of, business trends. Look, there's a difference. if there was not a monopoly. There was a difference if there'd be numerous different electric companies in the place and in the area, and you can choose which ones you want to use, because that's private marketism. And if they're too expensive, if they're not good quality, if they're not good service, if whatever, then you can go somewhere else. And then that keeps the prices low, that keeps the quality high, that keeps things the way it needs to be in a free market system. We don't have that when it comes to public utilities. We don't have that. They're making the decision. KCC is the one doing it for us when, as we mentioned, appointed by the governorship. Really? How much transparency do we actually have on this commission to actually make it to be favorable for us and not favorable for the benefits of them? 316-721-8255. Got to take a break. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. We got about a minute left of the program. Let's try and sneak in another call or two if we can. Line number one, let's keep it short. Good morning. What's your name?
This is Ray.
Hey, what's going on, sir?
Hey, we've been played for chumps on these turbines all along anyway. They cost more, obviously. No matter how you finance them, we end up paying more with them. And they should have been mounted on top of our houses from the very beginning, instead of tearing up western Kansas and making everything ugly.
Well,
that's about all I got to say.
Well, hey, I appreciate it much. No, you're right. I mean, I love the idea of some of the alternative energies when it comes to either the solar panels or the windmills. I mean, come on, farmers have been using windmills for years, even before this became a big, environmentalist deal. Think that it's a good idea to do. It's not feasible to do at the national level with the government support and just trying to force everybody to transition that way. It's not efficient. It's not cost effective. And you're right. I mean, we've had a lot of issues with that. Craziness. Had some calls on the line. Sorry we didn't get to everybody today. We'll continue this on tomorrow. It is a Thursday tomorrow. We are one day closer to the weekend. You're going to want to enjoy, have some fun there. We'll be having a great conversation as we always do. Lots of stuff happening here locally. As usual, this is your show. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason, baby. This is The Voice of Reason. Have a great Thursday.